Thank you for being here. My name is Kinsey, and we're here today to talk about the B.L.U.E method, which is a course that we provide around somatic education for self-healing. The topic we want to share is the idea that we're not broken, we just have nervous system patterning, and those can be changed. So thanks for being here. We're excited to share this information. Susan B.L.U.E is not here today, but she is the founding creator. Her and I partnered together. She brings over 40 years of experience in all the things somatics, cranial, trauma-informed care, my background in my own recovery with trauma and healing and somatics and the body-based work in Jinshin Jitsu. So we make a good team. We were able to get the content together and structure it in a way that was really has really been successful, and hopefully you will find this conversation valuable. So the B.L.U.E method is a framework that supports the nervous system in healing, emotional regulation, and body transformation. Now, somatic processing, if you haven't heard the term, it's a way from switching from a thinking our way out of things to a body-based processing of things, allowing the body to inform us on what's going on. And in the process of using this technique, it allows us to update the nervous system from these old patterns that were created often at a much earlier time in our life. So the work is rooted in the life work of Susan. Her healing journey is amazing, and she has a lot of experience, not only in the somatic therapy, but craniosacral trauma resolution and developmental repair. So she is pretty incredible when it comes to embodiment and being in her body and helping folks really experience that. I'm Kinsey, and through my own healing journey and my nervous system dysregulation, our paths crossed. And through the experiences that I had and the work that Susan was doing, we were able to bring that all together. And, you know, I've got the background in the organizational side of things. It's my forte. So we were able to put it in this hybrid content that we're actually providing folks now. We may end up doing more later, but in different formats. But for right now, it's a hybrid course that we'll talk about towards the end. So I'm just wanting you to think about what really brought you here, what got your attention, what makes you want to sit here and listen to this. Are you feeling an extensive amount of anxiety or overwhelm? Swings into depression? Sometimes those things come together. Do you have feelings that you don't know what to do with? They're so intense. They don't even have vocabulary. Is there tension and pain in the body? A lot of times the way we carry our body is relative to how we're feeling. Our digestion, are we digesting life? Therefore, is our digestive system working? Struggles with weight gain and other things. Like there could be a much bigger list. But I want you to check in with your internal state as we start this conversation and find those areas of your body that are giving you feedback. So just taking a minute, getting grounded in your seat, maybe closing your eyes and taking a deep breath. And notice as you bring your attention into the physical body, how it shifts as you do that. There's a sense of groundedness, there's a sense of presence. and quiet the mind a bit, which even makes us feel more grounded and present. Just notice, are your shoulders tight? Are your, shoulders up around your ears? How's your back? How's your guts? How are your lungs? Sometimes you can't even get a full breath, just taking in the breath that we have available to us. How's your mind? Is it going 90 to nothing? Likely, yes. And how's your spirit? Are you able to tap in? Have you been aware of your spirit in a while? Where is that at for you? So as we get started in the conversation about nervous system patterning, I want to talk about what that is. A pattern is a repeated and unconscious way of responding to something. It's a physical or emotional, mental, or behavior. And it's not necessarily because something happened to us in the present moment. We may have heard a sound or a smell, or we experienced something that has us responding in an unusually dramatic way. And it's really based on what we've experienced in previous times. This can include thoughts, pattern of self-criticism and catastrophizing. We all know those folks, and we've probably been them sometimes. I'm so currently going through something that I might qualify for that label right now, as I realize that in real time. But that self-criticism, those thoughts that cycle through us, that for whatever reason we picked up earlier in our existence, behaviors of avoidance, overachieving, people pleasing. Am I recovering people pleaser? Behaviors like that come from an earlier time. People pleasing I like to talk about because people pleasing is tricky because it looks like you're just being a kind person, but the people pleasers are people that, because they had some level of safety issue when they were young, they reach out and make sure their environment's safe. And it's usually a lot of people pleasing, making sure if everyone around me is happy, then I know I'm safe and I can be happy. But it's a lot of work. It's there's so many things about it that if you feel like this is something that you resonate with, it's definitely worth looking at. I waited, man, it was just within the last 10 years that I realized this about myself. And it really is hard on other people when we are in that pattern. Emotional responses, when we shut down or we just react really intensely, like, what was that? I don't know why I got so angry about that little thing. Or, just literally having a shutdown where not only our body shuts down, but possibly our mind, where we get real foggy and we don't even know what just happened, but we are having a hard time functioning. Postures and muscle tension, that whole bracing. I feel my hands clenching right now as I'm nervousness of having this session, collapsing, shallow breathing. So those are indications that we're responding to something, and our lungs tense up and we don't have a lot of breath in the body. Patterns are not a problem. They were an intelligent way, an automatic response for the body and brain to create safety. But now that we're fast forward into a later version of ourselves, if we haven't been able to reset those, they can be very limiting, and they continue to operate outside of our conscious awareness. A lot of this is subconscious stuff. It's a brilliant system. It's efficient. It sets up these patterns so that we don't even have to think about it. But we can also stay safe. So in the somatic work, when we can recognize and befriend these patterns, it's our entry point to reprogramming the nervous system and updating it to a more current version, kind of like software. So how are they formed? So, as I said just a bit ago, they are really patterns that began at an earlier experience. Something happened that made us not feel safe. And likely we were in a situation where we didn't have control of our environment or the situation, so we couldn't respond the way we needed to. And so that gets wired into our nervous system. Um, Things like staying quiet, helping others, trying to stay in control. They are ways of creating safety for ourselves. And then they become automatic. But they're not who we are. They are how we've adapted and stayed safe. And now the good news is they can be transformed easier than I ever knew. Like when I realized the distance between the suffering, the tension, the dysregulation was so much shorter with this tool. I knew that people needed to know, but we aren't told about this. We aren't given information that helps us manage these types of intense situations and dysregulations. So I'm hoping that this information gets you started down the path. So the good news is they can change, patterns can change. So the nervous system is always looking to see if we're safe or not. So the the way we do that, when we experience what we commonly call a trigger, that means that there is a response in the body to something outside of us. Um, the only way we can interrupt that nervous system response is using the breath. It slows everything down and it creates safety, because the breath, when you concentrate on the breath, it brings you into the present moment. You can't be going off in the head and then also focusing inward into the breath at the same time. So when we bring our attention in to our breath, it disrupts that triggered response. If you take nothing else away from this recording, please know that if you are someone experiencing some of those symptoms you talked about earlier, especially anxiety, these really intense things, it's the breath that's going to bring you back to some level of a foothold so that you can function, get access back to your thinking brain and things like that. So the breath is the entry point. Once we are able to get a foothold or get to some level of what we call regulation, to get our faculties about us, get grounded, and be present again, we can give our attention to the source of that, listening to our bodies, giving it the curious focus to say, wow, what's going on with you? And finding in our bodies where that trigger initiated and being there with it. Just saying, oh my gosh, I know you're freaking out right now. Let's just feel into that. Let's breathe into that and become a witness. That being that compassionate adult that we didn't have likely is a way of looking at it. As we give ourselves that focus, as we give ourselves permission to experience that, most of the time when we have these, we cram it down and deny that it happened and try to just get back into control through effort and through thinking. When we actually allow the body to express that energetic that's locked in the nervous system, it allows it to unwind. And as it unwinds, it allows us to let it express or expand. The intensity goes down so quickly, and then we're able to allow it to express and expand. So you don't have to effort so much. When the body feels safe, it will start to choose differently. It's just the way it works. So as we peel back, likely most of us have a lot of these little things, little triggers that have become tied up and wound up into other things that are similar. But as we learn to experience this and we make it part of who we are, the opportunity to be with experiences in the day-to-day is it changes dramatically, and we start to peel off all those things from the surface level down to some of those deeper patterns that have plagued us for a good portion of our life. So let's talk about an example of how this happens to people. So we'll use this Claire's story. When she was young, her parents divorced. Her father left, but her mother didn't. And so her mother was obviously destroyed and overwhelmed, and so she checked out. So this young girl didn't lose just one parent. She literally lost two forms of safety in her life. The father was just gone, and the emotional attunement and the caretaking of her mother was altered. And nobody thought to explain what was happening. Everything was just different. There was not really an opportunity to talk through it and understand it. And she was just left with the idea that this could possibly be something that she was responsible for. And she just didn't know it was her fault, wasn't her fault. So with all that was going on, there was no reason to try to get help. She just became quiet, tried to help out, and became really independent. She learned not to need too much, to stay somewhat small, and she wanted to be lovable. She wanted to please other people, and she just watched, made as much as she could easier for her mother, and trying not to be the one reason someone might leave. So a tendency towards hypervigilance showed up. She didn't want to cause any trouble. So she was editing, seeking permission, all these really intense patterns that you start to see in some of the adults. So over functioning relationships, the hypervigilance shows up. The tendencies towards self-abandonment. Other people's needs are way more important than mine. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will recognize that. We don't know how to receive support, feeling unworthy. That deep fear of abandonment that was never addressed, masked by competence, a way of earning our love. So Claire's body still holds all these imprints, the clenched, knotted belly, the tension in her chest, the anxiety, the depression, the destructive thoughts. Well, with the relentless drive to manage everything herself, then she unconsciously starts to invite friends and family to lean on her. She likes to feel needed. And guess what? This creates a very imbalance that once shaped her. So each repetition quietly validates those early nervous system imprints. So it just cycles and cycles and cycles. Another example of this is those that have become an overachiever. So this example, we'll use James. James prides himself on being dependable. So he's a yes guy, even when he's absolutely exhausted. So he takes on projects, favors, stays late. He's the first in line to offer support. And the messages that he tells himself is that he's a team player. But that feeling underneath is, if I don't keep proving my worth, I'll be left out or replaced. James doesn't realize that growing up, he was experiencing conditional love. He was praised when he performed, but overlooked when he rested. So his nervous system logged that. Overgive, overdo, stay safe, we'll get the love that we need. That urgency isn't a flaw, it's just protection. And the last one is an example of the hypervigilance. A lot of us experience this in the corporate environment. So this one is Daniel. Daniel worked in several high-pressure offices, but one in particular left a mark. In that job, mistakes were punished publicly. Awesome. Feedback was weaponized, and leadership thrived on fear. I don't know how many people recognize this as a corporate setting. It's so familiar for a lot of people. And even though he's been out of that job for a long time, he still suffers from the double and triple checking every email, the knot in the belly. He over explains things in the meetings he's in. He stays quiet, then he disagrees, and his heart just races every time he gets that message, can we talk? That is just such a corporate situation. Oh, it's terrible. He tells himself that being thorough, but it's really what's happening is his nervous system has learned that visibility is risk, confidence is a threat, and speaking up could cost him. So the nervous system formed a pattern. So now we overprepare, we stay small, and we stay safe. As a result, we get what we need if as long as we can stay in this hypervigilant state, which is really, really unhealthy for people. The body's just deteriorating at a rapid rate. The good news is, as you've seen in these stories, you can see where these things get created. It's not a personal failure. It's not your personality. It's not who you are. These things that we're told that, oh, you're just an A-type personality. It's who you are. It's just a way of validating and keeping you in running in place in those things. It's just the way the nervous system is protecting you. And the body has learned to respond about what it's perceiving as safe and unsafe. Just like that example of, can we talk? That sends anxiety through my body, and I'm not even in a corporate job right now. But that's the nervous system responding to that experience. So they became automatic, and it's not a choice. They show up in how you behave, how you think, how you hold yourself, and how you feel. What began as protection became a pattern. So there's so many other examples of this. We could go on for some time, but that's part of the course. We dive into these very personal, experiential stuff that you can start to unwind for yourself. So it's really about survival. Our autonomic nervous system is in place to ensure that assessing responses to a threat is absolutely automatic. We always have our sensors out. That's what our senses are for. Our vision, our sense of smell, touch, feel, hearing. The nervous system is constantly assessing whether or not we're in a safe situation. And it will kick off one of these responses. Do I need to run? Do I need to fight? Do I freeze? Or do I fold? So if I feel like I need to run and I can't run, that gets wired and wound up in the nervous system. If we're ready to take action and we are able to, that's very healthy. But if we are needing to fight or take action and we're not allowed to for whatever the environment has set up for us, that gets wired in. And if we can't do either of those, we will freeze. Literally, the body will go into a state of numbness. That blank feeling in your mind, being outside of our body or beside ourselves, not having any memory, or it's like watching a movie. That is really common when you're in these really intense, toxic environments, corporate environments. This is where people have to function because they can't do anything about it. They can't leave. They work there. They can't take action because there is a consequence to that. And so there's a freeze response, which really is debilitating and creates havoc on people trying to, well, just function in the day-to-day, being blank. Literally, when we are activated, the prefrontal cortex it doesn't function. And so this is really a debilitating state to be in. And when those things don't work, we fold, we collapse and disengage, which is a really significant state for the nervous system. So I want to take us through a guided practice really quick. We actually did it at the beginning. So I want you to check in with that place in your body that you had identified at the beginning of this. I want you to just take a comfortable seat, adjust where you need to, straighten the spine, get yourself settled, and just focus on your breathing. I have to close my eyes to do that. So as you feel that air coming into the lungs, coming into the body, just start to notice your position on your chair, what you need to adjust, and allow that weight to just settle onto your sit bones. As you do that, as you focus on your breath and begin to scan the body, just paying attention to it. We use the term befriend, befriending our physical form, dropping out of the thinking mind, and being fully present. Find that space, that place in your body of tension. It may be the same spot you found earlier, and if that was able to relax, then find the next thing. Just listen for it. You'll be able to locate it. And once you found it, really just put your focus there, breathing right into the center of that. And as you land, track it. Track the body feel sensations that are there. What are the sensations that are showing up? Is it just tense? Is it warm or cold? How big is it? Is it taking up that entire area? Is it taking up your entire torso? Is it taking up a spot? Just notice what you notice about it. And as you do that, there'll be a natural unwinding that starts to happen. Breathing right into it, allowing that release, allowing our presence. There's no reason to effort. This is not an efforting mind exercise. There's nothing to do. There's just that watching, witnessing, observing. And as that begins to unwind, notice how it shifts. Notice how it changes. Notice how it may want you to adjust your posture. And stay with it until it feels a level of completion. And that may be an expression, an expansion. But it's all part of the integration to allow the body to take on a different shape, a different energetic. Allow that release and just be with it. Just take a few more breaths here. The same method is what we use in the course, and it's how we come into relationship with other patterns from current time or from the past, triggers, other things that happen. So noticing what you notice. Did anything surprise you? And this is available to you in your everyday. If you find yourself tense or activated, just sitting down for what was less than 5 minutes can shift that into a more productive state, if not dissolve it. So through this method, the first step, the breathing and befriending, we're establishing our inner safety with the body so that it's safe to express and give us more information. And then we listen. We track the sensations and we do not go into a state of judgment. We just watch, allowing us to have whatever's going on, welcome it, allow it to express. So once we do that, then that allows it to unwind. And then there's usually some level of expression or expansion that allows that to integrate into the body, into a new nervous system state. This method integrates change by allowing participants not just to learn the word, but to live in real time. So the passion that Susan and I have is that we have a felt sense for how we engage with ourselves and come into a state of regulation, so that we know that we can do it again and again and again, and we build our own trust. We build trust with our bodies. We don't need outside sources to help us resolve most of these things. We don't need medication. We don't need, a specialist. We don't need psychotherapy to repeat the story over and over and over and wire it in our brain. We just need to be with the nervous system to understand what it has stored and allow that to express. So we offer a course, a 9-week course, to deep dive into all of this content in a very real way. The reason it's 9 weeks is we never dive to the deep end of the pool. We want to learn how to do this through these smaller experiences. And as we have the smaller wins, as we be with something that feels really uncomfortable and hard, and we watch ourselves pull out of it, and actually pretty quickly, we start to build that awareness, that trust with ourselves, and we can dive into a little bit deeper. So 9 weeks takes us through phases of depth, so that when we get to the retreat at the end of the 9 weeks, we're able to process some pretty important life-altering patterns that have been with us for some time. So this is really important to understand about the course. We are taking names to time the next course at this point. We're currently conducting one of these courses now, so it'll be in the fall or winter before we have the next one. So if there's an interest, please reach out. I also offer one-on-one sessions so that we have a felt experience. These have gone really well with those that are stepping into this, to have, we can say the words, but part of the first part of the course is to learn the language that we can all speak and understand one another. So until we have that, and even when we have that, these one-on-one sessions are here to facilitate that somatic processing. I also do some of the energetic work, the Jin Shin Jitsu, to help enhance the movement of flow through the body and support folks. So we eventually will have some workshops, but at this time we haven't created shorter workshops yet. We're working on the next course in the series, which is called Boundaries. And we're excited to get that available to folks that have attended the first introductory course. So, as I mentioned, the 9-week course is the first in the series. We plan to have a 4-part series. It ends in a retreat, and we limit it to 10 people on purpose because, as you can imagine, one, we want to create a really strong connection between the folks in the course, because we are going to go through some really important things for everybody, and we want to create that safe, connected environment, and it has worked out very well. It goes in 3 phases. We start with foundational concepts, learning the language. Then we learn how to start applying it to ourselves and going into that self-regulation at a much deeper level. And then we learn a lot more about the nervous system and deeper concepts, so that we can start to realize not only what's happening in our body, but we can start to recognize how we can not only dig deeper, but bring this into our lives with others. Our course platform, here is the QR code. And yeah, this is an example from a previous course. And this is our May retreat. We've had a couple since then, but lots of fun, lots of connecting. It was really fun. So if you want more information or to sign up, if you attended today, we are offering 20% off the 9-week course. The next one will keep that open until September 30th. So let us know. And then know that the retreat accommodations are not part of the course charge. Excuse me, I got to, excuse me. The retreat accommodations are separate from the course itself. But we always find a really cool place. I'm not going to go through that. Okay. So thank you for being here. If you're interested on one-on-one work or learning more about the course, please do reach out to us. My email is Kinsey_D@Yahoo, KINSEY_DEE@yahoo.com. My phone number is 719-439-5154. And the QR code for the link tree is right here. I'll leave it up for a minute so you can scan it. And that has all the goodies in that for you to learn more about what we're up to and sign up for things. If you're interested in staying in contact, you can sign up for our mailing list. It's also on the link tree through that QR code. So thank you for your time. I look forward to speaking with you soon.